I don't even know where to start. When I bought that white suit, I really thought I was getting a nice suit. All right, where do I start? First of all, I want to say congratulations to Stacy Greathouse. You are very deserving of it. I remember the days that I used to go and pick you up. You used to drive. We had many conversations, and those were the good old days. I'm very honored to be here before you this evening. Never in a million years did I ever expect to receive recognition for being BCIT's Teacher of the Year. And as I was preparing a few words to say at tonight's event, I began to think back over my career as an educator. And I began to ponder the question, just how did I get to the place of where I am now in my life? A college graduate, a teacher of 11 years, BCIT's Teacher of the Year, currently finishing up a master's in educational leadership. And sometimes life just moves so fast that we often fail to take notice of the steps within our journey that have led us to the place of success in both our careers and our lives. And as young children, we all have had dreams and aspirations. And all of us have experienced those when I grow up, I want to be moments. But to actually grow up and to become that which you have sought after for many years is truly amazing. And my sister Andrea took a little bit of my speech. Let's see. But as a young boy, I used to have a huge interest in dogs. And this interest eventually grew into dreams of becoming a veterinarian. And I remember my parents getting me a dog. And I remember my parents remodeling my room to the point where everything in the room was centered around some type of dog theme. And I remember traveling all over to various dog shows that were in the area. And I remember my dad taking an interest in a book that was written by me around age 9, entitled My Dog Sparky. And I remember my dad taking this book that I had hand wrote in a spiral notebook, and he took this book to work, and during his prep, he typed it up and designed a fancy little cover for it and made it look like a real published book. And finally, I remember my parents allowing me the chance to sit in on a veterinarian performing a real surgery on a dog. And as a young boy, I eventually got into dirt bikes and even considered becoming a professional motocross racer. I remember my parents saving up their money to make sure that I got that dirt bike that I begged and pleaded for. And I remember my dad spending hours with me showing me how to effectively ride a dirt bike. And I remember my dad showing me all the secret gravel pits to ride in. And when we discovered that many of these gravel pits were private property, I remember my dad taking his tractor and his other tools and making our own trail in the woods behind the house. And as a young boy, I also developed an interest in music and had dreams of becoming a big-time musician. I remember my parents surprising me with a keyboard. And I remember my dad taking hours upon hours showing me various songs on the piano. And I remember my parents hiring the best music teacher in town to teach me advanced chord progressions. And I remember my dad taking me to see Spiral Gyro, which was a big-time jazz recording band. And I remember my dad spending hours with me watching and critiquing VHS tapes of various musical artists like Yanni and Tito Puente, and Grover Washington Jr. and Wynton Marsalis. And as life went on, I developed a few other interests. But later on in my teenage years, I developed an interest in education. And I remember my parents making sure that I got plenty of experience as they pushed me to become involved in peer mentoring and other related programs in my high school. And I remember while still in high school, my parents urged me to apply for a part-time position working with elementary school children every day from 3 to 6 p.m. And as I went on to college, I remember my parents making sure that I got into one of the best teaching schools in the area. But most importantly, I remember my parents modeling how to make teaching a lifestyle rather than a career. Now, obviously, I didn't turn out to be that veterinarian, or that professional motocross racer, or that big-time musician, but some 15 years later, my little interest in education has blossomed into an awesome and rewarding career. And while I know my dad, who is no longer with us, would have loved to see his son nominated as Teacher of the Year, I would like to say that this award that I'm receiving tonight is not a reflection of me. It is not a reflection of anything that I have done. But Mom, it has everything to do with the hard work that you and Daddy put into raising all three of us. And I would like to say, job well done. Yeah. I have come to realize that sometimes taking an interest in the small things in a person's life can go a long way. And as teachers, we get students from all different walks of life. We get the high achievers. We get the not so high achievers. We get students across all socioeconomic backgrounds. We get the college-bound students. We get the career-bound students. And finally, we get those students who don't really know where they want to go in life. But one thing that holds true for all students is the fact that each and every one of them comes to us with unique talents, skills, strengths, and abilities. And sometimes a little effort on our part is all it takes to get students to realize their true potential. The other day on the radio, I heard something that really stuck with me. The two most important days of a person's life are the days they were born and the day they realized why they were born. Some of us were born to be electricians, some of us were born to be architects, and some of us were born to be graphic designers. But whatever the case, each and every one of our students is great at something. And out of this greatness is a future waiting to blossom. And every seed that gets planted into the ground needs a little watering from time to time. And as we begin to notice seeds sprouting in our students, we as educators need to make it our responsibility to nurture, develop, and take an interest in the abilities within our students. And in doing so, we must allow these talents and skills to flourish in our classrooms so that we can begin to put students in positions where they can and will succeed. Now, when Mr. Venuto called me down to his office to inform me of the news that I had been nominated Teacher of the Year, on my way down to down the hallway into his office, I didn't know why he was calling me down, so the first thing I thought was, what joke went too far this time? Who did I make fun of this time? But as Mr. Venuto proceeded to tell me that I was nominated Teacher of the Year, I immediately thought of an episode in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And in this episode, it was Will Smith's first day of school, Bel-Air Prep Academy. And, so he walks into the building, he looks up on the walls, and he sees all these names of people engraved into the wall. And so he looks over to his principal and he says, "Why are there so many names engraved into the wall?" And so the principal replied, "These are our founding fathers. These are great individuals, and they will always be remembered by their names being engraved on the wall." And so later on in the episode, Will Smith pulls out his keys, and he goes into one of the classrooms, and he begins to engrave his name, Will Smith, onto the desk. And so, of course, Carlton tells him, like he always does. And so when Will Smith was asked, "Why did you deface school property? Why did you put your name on the desk?" Will Smith's response was, "I wanted to be remembered along with the greats." And so as Teacher of the Year, I count it an honor for my picture to be placed on the wall among the Karen Gills, and the Tim Witchards, and the Karen Pinardos, and the Kim Williams, and the Laura Sims, and all the other former Teachers of the Year. And while it is a privilege to have been chosen Teacher of the Year, at the end of the day, there can't be a Teacher of the Year without being surrounded by a great cast. And so as I look out into the audience, I see a group of outstanding educators, all working to make a difference in the lives of our students. Teacher of the Year is not a time to celebrate one individual because none of us can do this thing alone. However, it takes a collective effort from each and every one of us. Because on any given day, we as educators are mothers, we are fathers, we are role models, we are problem solvers, we are learners, we are relationship builders, we are patient, we are individuals who accept nothing but excellence from our students. We are motivators, we are advocates for the underprivileged and the less fortunate. And finally, we are promoters of failure is not an option. And from this day on, I declare that every Teacher of the Year celebration will be a time for all of us to pat ourselves on the back and say, job well done. Because there is no I in team, but there is definitely power in numbers, especially when you're talking about two campuses with a common goal. Because together, we have the power to impact thousands of individuals. Together, we have the power to encourage individuals to believe in themselves and in their abilities. Together, we have the power to promote change. Together, we have the power to shape an individual's life. Together, we have the power to create lifelong learners. And together, we have the power to inspire the next Bill Gates, the next Jay-Z, the next Steve Jobs, the next Beyonce, and the next Oprah Winfrey. And in closing, I would be remiss if I did not mention a very few important people. First and foremost, I want to thank my mother for being such an example to myself and my two sisters over my last 34 years and plus years with my sisters. My mom has been the foundation for my family since I've been born, and she's just been a true role model, not only for us, but for just everybody in the community who comes in contact with my mom. I want to thank my wife for 5 years, and the mother of my child for being there every step of the way throughout my career, and as I endeavor to become a future administrator. I want to thank my principal, Mr. Venuto, for being a leader, a role model, and for creating an environment in this building where teachers and students have no other option than to succeed. I want to thank my superintendent, Dr. Mano, who was, he happened to be my college professor last year. And I remember staying up till 2 in the morning writing on paper because he was big on papers and sending them. So every week I had to submit a paper, and I would be up to 2 o'clock in the morning. I would submit it at 2 o'clock, finally get to bed, and my phone would go off at 3 o'clock because he graded the paper and sent it back to me. I want to thank Dr. Hutton, who was unable to attend tonight's ceremony, but for just believing in me and pushing me to the next level in my teaching. I want to thank my TCNJ cohort, as we have spent the last 3 years together in pursuit of becoming future administrators. I want to thank the science department for your professionalism and your willingness to do whatever it takes to improve science instruction in the classroom. And last but not least, I want to thank Mr. Money for simply giving someone like myself an opportunity.
Amen.
Mr. Money, since you hired me here back in 2003, I have taken total advantage of the opportunity that you gave me, and I have enjoyed every moment of my career. And just like you opened up the doors for me as a future administrator, I will always look to open up the doors for others.
Amen.
Thank you.